Hey, what's up guys? This is Mike here, and this is my first vlog slash tutorial. Now, a lot of people want me to do lectures or workshops, but it's just very hard because I work a full-time job and I'm constantly on the road trying to find new places to photograph. So I decided to start shooting a vlog that will kind of capture the behind the scenes slash my settings slash my post-processing. And this will give you a better insight of what I'm doing so you can learn and, and go out and try it for yourselves. For my first vlog, I'm actually going to take a picture of the World Trade Center interior architecture. And not just any picture, I'm trying to do a 360 panorama. So to do a 360 panorama, we kind of have to do a special rig, which I have set up right here. This is my D800 with a 15mm fisheye lens. And I have a SUNWAYFOTO Nodal Rail. This is a Haoge Nodal Rail. And another rail right here that holds the camera on. Now, the reason why we have this whole setup like this is because we're trying to avoid parallax. Now, I'm not going to get into the whole technical aspect of parallax. There's so many tutorials explaining exactly what it is. Basically, if we're pivoting from the camera body from here, you kind of get like a fisheye effect, and sometimes the lines won't line up too well. So we want to pivot from the lens instead of the body, because that will help when we go to align it in PT GUI, Lightroom, Photoshop, whatever you're using to stitch panoramas at the moment. So that's why we have this whole contraption set up like this. I'm going to go into a little more detail tomorrow when I'm at the World Trade Center. I just wanted to give you a little preview of exactly what I'm using as far as the camera body, the lens, and my setup to do the 360 panorama. Hey, what's up guys? We're in Jersey City and we're at Journal Square. It's about 28 degrees out. It's pretty freaking cold. I'm heading to the PASS station right now so I could take the train into the World Trade Center. And yeah, here we go. Alright guys, I'm here at the Westfield World Trade Center. I'm about to do a panorama shot. I'm going to try and do this on the balcony first because there's no security up here, and I'm going to try and get this done before any security shows up. Then I'm going to go downstairs and try and do a 360 panorama, but that's right in the middle of this whole Westfield World Trade Center mall, so they'll probably stop me. So I figure at least I'll get a regular panorama done first. This is my setup. I have one nodal slider, My camera is offset, so my pivot point is at the lens, not at the base of the camera. Alright, so I made sure my tripod was level, and I made sure I'm in perfect alignment with the ceiling. And now what I'm going to do is work from left to right at 15-degree increments. Then I'm going to angle it up and work my way back. Hey, what's up guys? You're probably wondering if I got in trouble setting up my tripod in the middle of Oculus World Trade Center. Well, I kind of did, but I was able to finish off a 360 panorama just in the nick of time before the Port Authority showed up. The problem is there's so many lines with Oculus from the way the structure is built that I'm not sure how the alignment is gonna be. So let's go find out when I put the images on my computer. So now that you have your photos in Lightroom or whatever software you're using, the first thing I like to do is select all my images and scroll down to sharpening. I like to bump them up to around 60, and that's just me. Everybody has their own personal preference. I don't like to over sharpen, and this is just a good starting point. I might make further adjustments later, but for now I'm going to start it off at 60. The next thing I like to do is go to profile, and you'll see usually with wide angle lenses, actually for most lenses, there's color fringing, which is that kind of purplish pink, and you got some green right there. Hit remove chromatic aberrations. We want to get rid of that, and we want to apply it to all our images. And if you still have some showing, you could take the slider and move it to 1 or 2, and that will help as well. Next thing I'll click is enable profile corrections. Now right now I have the distortion at 0, and that's fine because I don't want it to fix the distortion right away. I kind of want to see how the blending does without that, but I might have to bump it up. It's just something we'll leave at 0 just to kind of see how the software does without it. So the first few images I'm going to work on were taken with my Nikon 14 to 24 millimeter lens. I shot at f9, 1/6 of a second, ISO 100, and this is the one that you saw me working left to right, and then I up the angle and work back right to left, and then I actually increased the angle a little bit more and went back again left to right, and this is the result I got. It came out pretty cool. It's a little wonky right up top, but we could always crop that lower if I want to get rid of that. It kind of actually just looks like a fisheye picture. So if you don't have a fisheye lens and you want that fisheye effect, that would have, that does it right there. Even with my camera slid back so that I was on the proper nodal point, there's just so much going on with this structure, and I was so close to the sides that this distortion was going to happen regardless. Even if I'm perfectly set up and have all the right tools to do the job, this is just the nature of the beast. And you could kind of fix this in Lightroom, in Photoshop, and adjust the distortion, although you will lose a lot of this image as well. So it's just something to take note of. I ended up just taking the lens and changing it from portrait orientation to landscape orientation, and I did this other panorama with these 5 images right here, and this is the result I got, which came out pretty cool in my opinion. I really love how this looks. It almost looks like it's like a spaceship or something. And the one thing I would do though, since we're going for symmetry here, I would like to edit out these lights. So you either use Lightroom, but to be honest, I would probably prefer Photoshop for cloning out things. It's just a lot easier than to deal with the Lightroom clone tool. But yeah, just take note, if you're going for symmetry, that if you have any distractions like that, you want to get rid of them. So that's one thing I definitely would do. The other thing I would do is, you know, because this is a high contrast image with the white and then the dark sky, because I did go, it was like 6:30 in the morning, so it was still dark out. This would make for a great black and white. So I would do something along that, you know, bump up the highlights, really emphasize the white, and then maybe lower the blacks a little bit and kind of create a very dramatic and high contrast image. But for now, I'm going to leave it as is. And, you know, the white balance is off on these. I would definitely, it has to be a little cooler like that. That's more realistic to what it looks like at Oculus World Trade Center. The reason why I didn't adjust the white balance to each image, you know, is because I shot it in RAW, and when you merge a panorama, it should be saving out as a DNG file or a TIFF file, and then you can just adjust your white balance to the image overall instead of wasting your time and doing it to each individual image. So that's one thing to kind of speed up your workflow. Alright, so this one was taken with my Sigma 15mm fisheye lens. I ended up trying to do a couple panoramas with it just to kind of see how it'd work, especially when we're dealing with this curvature. It makes it a lot more difficult for the software to put everything in proper alignment. So let's see how it did. This is the result that I got when I merged it without defishing the lens. Right here it messed up. It's not supposed to be kinked like that. So what I ended up doing was going back to these photos, and I defished it by going to distortion and putting it at 100. And now you see we have straight lines. So once I did that to all the photos, you select them all, and then photo merge panorama. You also use Photoshop to merge it, or PT GUI, whatever you have to stitch. And the result I got actually by defishing it was a lot better. As you see here, everything lined up as it was supposed to, and it came out really cool. This is probably one of my favorite images I got from this shoot. I'm still going to do a little further editing. Like I said, I need to fix the white balance, and not much to it, to be honest. This is like a really nice, beautiful, simple structure, and I'm not gonna go crazy with it. You know, some people might bump up clarity. I'll play around, but as far as right now, I really like how it came pretty much out of the box. So that looks good. Now as we continue, this was the last set I did before I went down into the middle of the World Trade Center. And you know, when I went down there, I was really nervous because there's security everywhere, and I guess they're just mall cops. So I took out the tripod, I set it up, I took a couple test shots of the ceiling with my fisheye lens, and to my surprise, they didn't say anything. So I continued on doing a 360 panorama using the fisheye lens, Now, I would have liked to use my other lens as well, but by the time I finished the full 360 and I started to work on the ceiling, I had Port Authority showed up, and he's like, "Oh, you can't use a tripod." So I asked him if I could finish the ceiling shots, and he's like, "No," but I ended up taking them anyway. As he walked away, really quick, I just fired him off. Then I took apart the tripod and I took some photos of the floor as well, just handheld, which probably didn't come out the best. What I do now is I take all these photos and I exported them as JPEGs just as a test to see if it would work. And I opened them up in PTGui. And if you haven't used PTGui, it's a very in-depth stitching software. I'll show you right now. So you load your images and then hit align images. Now, because of the way this structure is, PTGui had a really tough time distinguishing between the right and the left side of the World Trade Center. So some of the beams, it was getting confused with the wrong side, and it really made aligning very troublesome. I definitely need to go in and change a lot of the control points. As you see, I'm getting errors right now. So this is real quick. I could definitely make it better, and it's very time consuming, so I'm not going to do it right now. I just kind of want you guys to see what I was getting. Here's let me do this. Alright, so as you see, the alignment is not terrible, but there's definitely a lot of spots that need fixing. But I was pleasantly surprised, under the time constraint. Literally, I was out there for maybe 10 minutes at the most, just setting up, and sure enough, Port Authority came out there. But I'm still pretty pleased, and with a little bit of time and effort, I could probably make this a lot better. So yeah, that's about it.